Why suffering happens and how to transcend it. Suffering is one of the most universal experiences of human life. Everyone, regardless of age, culture, or circumstance, encounters pain, disappointment, loss, or inner turmoil. From minor frustrations to profound grief, suffering seems unavoidable. Yet Eckhart Tolle, one of the most influential spiritual teachers of our time, reveals that the source of suffering lies not in external events but in the mind's reaction to them. Understanding why suffering happens and learning how to transcend it is the key to lasting peace and freedom. 1. The nature of suffering. At first glance, suffering appears to be caused by life itself, by misfortune, illness, conflict, or loss. While external circumstances can trigger discomfort, Tolle teaches that suffering arises primarily from our mental and emotional resistance to what is. Whenever we encounter a situation we perceive as negative or threatening, the mind reacts with frustration, anger, fear, or resentment. This reaction is often automatic, habitual, and unconscious. It is not the event itself that causes suffering. Rather, it is our refusal to accept it fully in the present moment. In other words, suffering is optional. While life will inevitably present challenges, we have the capacity to change our relationship with these events. This shift begins with awareness. 2. The role of the ego. The ego, according to Tolle, is the mental construct that defines I and me through thoughts, roles, and life stories. The ego thrives on separation, comparison, and judgment, and it reacts strongly to anything that threatens its identity, control, or sense of security. When the ego perceives loss, injustice, or discomfort, it triggers emotional pain, anger, anxiety, resentment, or depression. These reactions often amplify the original problem, creating a cycle of suffering. Tolle reminds us, the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation but your thoughts about it. Recognizing the ego's role is essential in understanding why suffering happens. 3. The mind's resistance. Resistance is a central cause of suffering. The mind resists life when it does not conform to expectations or desires. This resistance manifests as mental commentary, blame, regret, or fear about the past or future. For example, losing a job may cause practical difficulties, but suffering arises when the mind insists, "This shouldn't have happened. It's unfair. I can't handle this." These thoughts create layers of emotional pain that extend far beyond the original event. Acceptance is the antidote. When we fully acknowledge reality without judgment, we stop feeding resistance, and the intensity of suffering decreases. 4. Presence as the path to freedom. The key to transcending suffering is presence, a state of conscious awareness of the present moment. Presence is the still, observing consciousness that exists beyond thought and ego. When we bring attention to the present, the mind's compulsive patterns slow down. We no longer automatically identify with pain, worry, or fear. Instead, we observe thoughts and emotions with clarity. Presence does not remove life's challenges, but changes our relationship with them. A difficult situation may remain, but suffering diminishes because we are no longer resisting reality. 5. Observing the pain body. Tolle introduces the concept of the pain body, the accumulation of past emotional pain and trauma stored in the mind and body. The pain body feeds on negative thoughts and thrives in conflict, resentment, or drama. By becoming aware of the pain body, we can observe it without identifying with it. When anger, fear, or sadness arises, noticing it as the activity of the pain body interrupts its power over us. Practices such as mindfulness, observing the breath, and feeling bodily sensations help weaken the pain body's grip. The more present we are, the less reactive we become, and the cycle of suffering is disrupted. 6. Disidentification from the mind. Another essential practice for transcending suffering is disidentifying from the mind. Most people unconsciously merge with their thoughts, believing they reflect reality. This identification amplifies stress and emotional pain. Tolle teaches, you are not your mind. You are the awareness in which thoughts appear. By cultivating this awareness, we separate the observer, the true self, from the content of the mind. Thoughts may arise, but they no longer dictate our emotional state. Disidentification reduces suffering because it weakens the ego's habitual reactions. We are no longer prisoners of the mind's compulsive patterns. 7. Conscious response versus reaction. Human suffering is often perpetuated by reactive behavior, automatic emotional responses to life events. When the mind interprets a situation as threatening or unjust, the ego reacts. Presence allows for conscious response instead of reaction. This means observing the situation, feeling emotions fully, and responding intentionally rather than habitually. For example, in conflict, reactive behavior may involve anger, blame, or defensiveness. A conscious response involves pausing, observing the emotional patterns, and acting with awareness, which can transform the situation and reduce suffering. 8. Acceptance and surrender. Acceptance is a cornerstone of transcending suffering. Acceptance does not imply passivity or resignation. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without adding mental or emotional resistance. When we accept life fully, even difficult situations, we conserve energy and reduce internal conflict. Tolle emphasizes, whatever you think the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from yourself. Surrender to the present moment opens the door to peace, even in circumstances that the ego might resist. It allows life to flow rather than continually battling against it. 9. Silence, stillness, and inner space. Silence and stillness are powerful tools for reducing suffering. The mind thrives on noise, distractions, and compulsive thinking. Stillness allows us to step out of mental chaos and enter the dimension of presence. Meditation, mindful breathing, and conscious observation of the body are practical ways to cultivate stillness. Even brief periods of silent awareness can interrupt mental patterns that perpetuate suffering, giving a glimpse of inner peace. 10. Gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude shifts attention from resistance to recognition of what is positive in life. By consciously appreciating what we have, even amid difficulties, we cultivate a mental state that is less vulnerable to suffering. Gratitude does not deny challenges. Instead, it changes how we experience them. Noticing small joys, acts of kindness, or simple comforts creates space in consciousness free from the ego's constant complaints. 11. Understanding the impermanence of life. Much suffering comes from clinging to permanence in a constantly changing world. The mind resists impermanence by holding on to expectations, attachments, and desires. Tolle teaches that embracing change and observing life as it unfolds can significantly reduce suffering. Life's challenges become part of a larger rhythm rather than personal injustice. Recognizing that all experiences are temporary fosters acceptance, peace, and resilience. 12. Integrating presence into daily life. Transcending suffering is not limited to meditation or spiritual practice. Presence can be integrated into everyday life. At work, focus on one task at a time, observing thoughts without judgment. In relationships, listen deeply, respond consciously, avoid reactive patterns. Daily chores, engage fully, noticing sensations, movements, and surroundings. Moments of discomfort, observe emotional reactions without attempting to escape them. Bringing awareness into ordinary moments reduces suffering and cultivates inner freedom. Life itself becomes the practice. 13. The ultimate freedom. Ultimately, transcending suffering means realizing that you are awareness itself. Life will continue to present challenges, but suffering loses its power when we no longer identify with the mind. Tolle summarizes, suffering is the absence of presence. Wherever you are, be there totally. Presence is the doorway out of suffering. True freedom, peace, and joy are not found in external circumstances. They are inherent in the present moment, always accessible. Closing reflection. Suffering is a teacher, not a punishment. It reveals the ego's patterns, highlights resistance, and points toward the need for awareness. Through presence, acceptance, and conscious observation, suffering loses its grip. By observing thoughts and emotions without identification, noticing the activity of the pain body, embracing impermanence, and cultivating stillness and gratitude, we can transcend suffering. Life's challenges become opportunities for awakening rather than endless sources of pain. Eckhart Tolle's teachings remind us that inner peace is always available, independent of external circumstances. Suffering is optional. Freedom is always present.